Well, not sure if I'm actually streaming or not. This is sort of a test stream, testing the mobile streaming power of the old phone today, and whether or not I'll be able to stream from my office and while I travel to and from projects or whatever. Because I'll tell you what, I am not going to lose the opportunity. This election, what's happening in the world right now, the whole world going full platform business, everything. We all need to have our voices heard a little bit more than they have been. And I'll tell you what, Generation X, I'm a little disappointed in the old Generation X. You don't see one lick of anything being spoken from Generation X. Why don't we have an opinion on what's happening in the world right now? Is everybody truly afraid to give their opinion on what's been going on all this weaponization of the courts and weaponization of the judicial and the lying and the cheating that has been going on both sides of the aisle, to be honest with you? Oh, look at that. I got a notice from my Twitter account that I've gone live. So it looks like at least one broadcast platform is working. If anybody's on Facebook and they're getting this live broadcast, please try to let me know. If you can send a message back, if you can say hi. I'm not paying attention to it. I'm driving, so I'm not looking at the screen and I can't read anything. I wouldn't want to get into any trouble. I don't know what the rules are, if any, on live broadcasting while you're driving. But this is just a camera that I use on my dash to, record car stuff. And if I can broadcast at home and from the car, we're going to cover this election. We're going to cover all sorts of news, have commentary on all sorts of news, and tie it all back to the market so we can hopefully all pay a little closer attention to how our investments are going to do during this, what I think is going to be the most significant market pullback any of us have ever seen in our lifetime. I won't get into those details today on this particular show or this particular broadcast, because this more or less is just to test the system, make sure it can all work. I know I can stream from home. I need to confirm I can stream from the car, and then it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. So let's get back to the Gen Xers for a minute. Why haven't more Gen Xers talked or had an opinion about what's going on? I've got my theory as to why more Gen Xers haven't said anything about this, and it's because we're really the reason a lot of this is happening. We forgot about the kids. We forgot to raise kids the right way. We forgot to give our kids boundaries. We forgot to show our kids what a decent family looks like. We forgot to show our kids how to respect their elders, how to not get wrapped up in too much outside influence. That's what I think. I'm just saying. And the big and, we didn't show our kids how to have a strong, united home front within the family. We argued with our spouses. We had a competition with our spouses. We never let our kids see what true partnership is. Maybe some of you did. Maybe some of you, who go to church on a regular basis. I don't know. It seems to me like the church goers always seem to do a little bit better. And I'd really like to know why. Now, I'll be honest. I didn't go to church, not because I didn't believe or that I'm some atheist or something like that. I didn't go to church for the same reason somebody gets traumatized, let's say, on an airplane. Maybe they have almost died in an airplane crash 2 or 3 times. So they vowed, like John Madden, vowed to never ride on an airplane, and he rode a bus all around the country. That's kind of the same reason why I didn't go to church. My grandparents, my dad's parents, all my dad's brothers, the whole family on that side of the family, my grandfather was so into preaching the gospel. He was into preaching how everybody should live, how we should live our lives, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. All there was rules. All there was just, wake up and go to Sunday school, wake up and study scripture. And it was, that's all it was. And really all it was a bunch of shaming. The amount of shaming that I dealt with in my childhood on that side of the family was just ruthless. I mean, the kind of shaming that when you look back on it, it really brings back some horribly toxic memories of what it was like to not want to be in church. But I think church, for the most part, gives a decent message. I've been to church a few times in the last 20 years, maybe 10. And for the most part, there's a good message in church. I don't really know the details as to what they're preaching these days. I mean, when I was a kid, they used to preach that the wives served the men, and the wives worshipped the men, and the men were the head of the family, and they did everything, and they earned the money, and the wives all stayed home and cooked dinner and washed the man's feet. I didn't think that was going to fly in the women that I had experience with from the ages of 15 to, let's say, 21. They weren't going to really go for that. But I've got nothing against church. If you got to go to church to give yourself, that higher, that higher belief or that larger meaning to life, something to follow, maybe an instruction manual or whatever. Church just isn't for me. It's just not something that I really enjoyed. Nothing against it. But we sure have done something to get to this place. And I sure hope that with this broadcast, now I'm going to try to do this broadcast 3 days a week. I'm going to say that now. Right now it's going to be between 6:15 a.m. and probably 7:30. It's at market open, because what we're going to do for a lot of this broadcast, yes, it is going to be for discussion. Yes, it is going to be, I want everybody to feel welcome and open and invited to join the broadcast and enter in the discussion. What we don't have enough of these days is communication and sharing of opinions, and even if we have to get into debates. There was once a time, I know it's hard to believe, but there was once a time that I felt like having a discussion about politics or, social structures and social acceptance, or, I've always considered myself to be a fiscal conservative and more of a social liberal politically, or liberal, socially liberal and fiscally conservative. That's kind of where I've sat most of my life. When I had the opportunity to vote for the first time, it was 1992. We all turned 18 years old, and I remember, back then you could still buy tobacco at 18. So when you turned 18, you got to now suddenly call yourself an adult, and you wanted to do all the things that adults could do. So the first thing we all did is we went to the strip club, because you could now go to strip clubs legally. We could we could absolutely buy our own tobacco, so we did that, and we could vote. And voting was something that I was excited to do. At that particular time, in 1992, there was an election going on with Bill Clinton, the first George Bush Sr., and a little guy named Ross Perot. And I sat down to watch the election, watch the debates, and we didn't have the internet that we could just look up anything we wanted, so we had to watch debates and watch the nightly news to kind of figure out what candidate was what candidate, what they were aiming to push for, what their style of running the country was. And back then, if you go back, I've actually gone back and listened to a couple of those debates between Ross Perot, Bill Clinton, and George Bush. And I think I would have voted for him today, even with all the experience that I have today in life and people and, the hundreds of relationships I've had since then, with bosses and friends and acquaintances and employees. I mean, you name it. I think I would still vote for Ross Perot, even today. It definitely wasn't the election we had in 2016. The 2016 election, I wasn't really paying attention to much leading up to the election in 2016 because I was in the middle of my mom dying, my wife leaving, trying to destroy the company I was running, and my business partner being accused of sexual assault by 11 different women. So I was working 7 days a week, roughly 13 hours a day, coaching football, repairing the curtain drain on my house, clearing the land behind my house, and working so much that I didn't know up from down. So when it came time to vote, I remember thinking, holy smokes, there's 5 Black Hawk helicopters flying in formation right on the deck. What's going on? Hopefully there's nothing crazy going on. No black smoke in the air. That's good. But I just remember seeing Donald Trump in the election and winning and gaining ground. And I remember thinking to myself, like, my God, this guy could really win. Now, I did not think Donald Trump, first of all, I didn't think Donald Trump was a great dude. Maybe not for the same reasons that you or some of you might not think he's a good guy. I don't think he's a sexual assaulter or any of the things he's been accused of. I think that's all fun and games and lawfare and BS. And I've got some receipts to kind of prove that that is the case. But I despised Hillary Clinton. Absolutely despised her for a very, very good reason, I think. The reason really is, first of all, her husband, y'all remember when he got on live TV and said right to our faces, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Well, anybody who can look straight at you in the face and tell a bold-faced lie, I just think you've got a problem. That he should have owned it. He was getting blowjobs in the White House. Own it. So what? You're Bill Clinton. Yep, I had sexual relations with that woman. Why not just say it? Hillary, she rubbed me the wrong way. I don't like condescension. Condescension to me is a really nasty quality. Condescension is insecure people treating people shitty. And she was a master at the condescending response. She got people killed in Benghazi and she didn't own it. She didn't take responsibility. She destroyed emails. She showed me that she was above the law really before any of the crap even went down. So I know a lot of people were surprised that Hillary got elected. I've always been an underdog guy. I like to bet on the underdog. I've always considered myself kind of an underdog. So I bet on Donald Trump. In fact, my business partner at the time, who had always claimed to be a staunch Democrat supporter, he was a big-time Seattle guy in the music business, entertainment industry. I think you have to be a Democrat if you're in that industry. But I bet him $10,000 that Donald Trump would win the election. And he shook my hand in front of like 7 people at the campfire. And he took that bet. And guess what? Donald Trump won the election. And I thought it was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Great American story that any president, and God damn it, we now have Donald Trump as president. Little did I know that was like to be the beginning of the end of everything, the turning upside down of the world. I can't wait to discuss why. I really can't wait until everything's exposed as to why all that took place. That's going to be fun. Because after the debate last Thursday, I'm sorry, but anybody who thinks Joe Biden is in a position where running this country and being the leader of the free world and the superpower in the world, if you watch that debate, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And that's just the way it is. I'm not a Trump supporter, definitely not a Biden supporter. I'm just a supporter of law, order, logic, being kind to people, respecting your elders, treating people with kindness and an open heart, not having an ego. That's what it is. I mean, Donald Trump has an ego bigger than Dallas, yes. But what politician and what person at that level doesn't have an ego? I mean, just like I thought with Ross Perot back in '92. This guy's run companies. He's a proven leader. He's a successful business person. For the same reasons, I thought Donald Trump could be president, because of those same skills. But anyway, a lot of people had a different reaction to him, and we have sure torn down a lot to put up an effort to remove him. And I'm confused as to why. I mean, it's really the number one reason why I'm starting this broadcast and doing the things that I'm doing now, is because it's time to start telling some stories. It's time to, now that I'm 50, yeah, people, we're all old now. If I'm 50, I was the youngest out of everybody in our class. So that means you guys are way old. And I'm catching up. But aren't we done with the nobody talking to anybody anymore? Aren't we done with the shunning and shaming and shutting people out and accusing people of things they're not, or they shouldn't be accused of? I think it's time that end, like ASAP. I've been through 2 divorces, and I guarantee you this, after the last 2 divorces I've been through, and seeing some of my other friends and what's happened in their marriages, and just kind of seeing the general landscape when it comes to relationships and dating and men and women, I don't think I'll be dating for maybe the rest of my life. I've gone 2 years now without sex. Still no drive. I'm done. My last marriage, my last relationship just sucked the life right out of me. I didn't think that you could get betrayed and lied to and manipulated and treated the way me and my boys were treated by a human being that you would marry. It's unreal. But all those stories are going to come out. It's time for truth. It's time for truth, honesty. Yep, that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's time for truth. And I wrote a screenplay for a movie a couple of years ago. I converted it to a TV series. I'm about halfway through season 1. And I want to get that TV series shot and produced in Gig Harbor. In fact, I'm going to start recruiting for said TV series. I don't care for what position: acting, makeup, camera, grips, you name it. I went to LA in 93, came home in 94, but I don't want to use Hollywood. I think Hollywood's done. I think it's over. They have proven to me that they just don't have any common sense. And I was there for a year. I tried to break into the acting game. I'm not going to, I don't know, I might share the details of my experiences in Hollywood and why there was just no way I was going to continue with that. A lot of the things you hear about Hollywood are true. Some of the nightmares that people have down there, what you get exposed to, what you get asked to do in order to earn your way to a position, to even just get representation. I mean, it was unfreaking real. But I've just always been one of those people that believes anybody can do anything at any time. Okay, brain surgery, some of the more complex, engineering, brain surgery, some more complex legal work. Yeah, obviously you got to go to school, you got to study a lot more to do that. But for the most part, I think anything can be done as long as you're shown how to do it once. And I've worked on a movie set. I've seen how it's done. I've been taking pictures. Mr. Street taught me how to take pictures back in 1985, 86, back at Goodman Middle School. And Goodman Middle School will always be the building above Gig Harbor looking at Mount Rainier. I don't care if it's called Harbor Ridge now. That's Goodman. Anybody else agree with me on that? Please send that message my way. But anyway, sorry about this kind of fumbled random broadcast on my commute to a job site I'm going to, where I'm helping a friend jack up an old house and hopefully don't drop a house into the bay. But got to do a test broadcast and see if this live stream from the car works so we can continue to do this. Like I said, every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the plan is to do between a 1 hour and a 2 hour show. Everything's going to tie back into, we're going to talk about current events. We're going to talk about news. We're going to be, doing opinions and reactions, I guess, to what's going on in the media for the day. But we're going to relate it all back to what happens to the movement of the stock market, why the market moves, what stocks are hot, how to trade, how I taught myself to trade during COVID is when I solidified my trading strategy. I'll be starting a Regulation D fund early next year. Regulation D fund is more commonly referred to as a hedge fund. I got my Series 65, which makes me a licensed investment advisor representative. Probably going to start my own investment advisory firm and recruit some advisors from around the country or the state who share my values and want to do some of the things that I want to do in terms of projects and ventures and just giving back the way we should be giving back. Remember, Gen X, we are the last link. We are the last link to the World War II generation. The greatest generation, I think, we've ever seen. Those were our parents' parents, our grandparents. My grandfather was probably the single biggest reason why I accomplished anything in my life, because I was not going to disappoint him. Yeah, I got kicked out of high school. It happens. There was too much time to water ski and have fun and fish and hunt, and there was too many other things going on. I had no intention of going to college. I wanted out of school. And, my home life kind of was pretty lonely. My dad was never around. My mom was a drunk. Both my parents told me I was going to be an absolute failure my whole life. In fact, did things to sabotage me along the way because they wanted to be right. And yeah, we're the link to that generation. And we owe it to them to give as many of the things we learned from that generation, which I think, 1, respect your elders. 2, be kind. Number 3, respect women. Even though I haven't gotten much of the reciprocal on that particular order, but you respect women, you respect the elderly. You do not let elder financial abuse take place. That's going to be the other thing. I am going to expose elder financial abuse and estate fraud as best I can. That's what this show will also do, is we hope to root out what elder financial abuse looks like and what financial abuse looks like. My dad is a classic example of a person who uses financial abuse to control the people around him, to control his loved ones. He's always done it. I think it's what his family did. It's toxic. I have a lot of experience with narcissists, just general shitty people. I have worked with, had the opportunity to meet hundreds of different people from different areas of either in finance or the entertainment industry or the music industry. I've worked for people that would be considered absolute narcissists. And I think a lot of you might agree with me too. We have an epidemic with narcissistic personality disorder. There is not a lot of people today that understand. Because of all the things that have happened to me over the last 10 years, whether it be with business partners, friends, lovers, I can spot a phony 100 yards away in a group of people. And it took me a long time to really figure that out, but it's an important skill to have, because there are a lot of shitty people out there trying to do shitty things. Society has collapsed. I feel like there's no laws. Scammers can just scam. Politicians are robbing us blind. They're literally stealing money at a rate that, well, anyway, we'll save that. I'll get into more details as to why I believe they're stealing money and what's going on. Hopefully I don't get shut down. Hopefully I don't have, anybody come knock on my door. Because if I am right, one thing that's been proven to me is the federal government is absolutely 100% willing to shut people down. They are not afraid to do it. So we have got to do something to make a change, get this train back on the tracks. Speaking of trains, driving along Stillicum here on the water, looking at the train. God, this is a gorgeous place. This is literally the best place in the country to live, at least for 3 months out of the year. July, August, and September. Greatest place in the country. Mildest weather, get a little marine breeze. But I'll tell you what, Seattle, you couldn't pay me to go into Seattle anymore. Seattle, as far as I'm concerned, is done. And that's sad, because Seattle used to be fun. Seattle used to be one of my favorite cities. Seattle and Portland used to be one of my favorite cities. But you can't blame those two on Donald Trump. We got to blame that on something else. We're all being killed with drugs. The cartels are bringing millions and millions of dollars worth of drugs into our country, contaminating our streets, killing people, killing our kids. It is so much worse than I ever thought it could be. But this is where we're at. The only way we're going to get out of this, everybody, is if we start talking. We have to talk with one another. We have to reconnect and have those tough conversations. It is not one party against another party. It is all of us, citizens of the United States, legal citizens of the United States. We need to combine our forces to take back our country, because our country's been hijacked. And I really don't think we even know just how bad it's been hijacked yet. I think that's still to come. There could be something similar to 9/11 happening soon. I think we're going to go through what will be the biggest recession we will see in our lifetimes. Maybe I already said that. And this show will take place to follow that. And if anything, if I can help anybody save their retirement nest egg or make some investment decisions that, might be a little forward-looking investment decisions versus rearview mirror investment decisions. I spent a lot of years traveling the country, educating thousands of people on how investing works, how allocation works, how modern portfolio theory works. And I'll be honest, there are a lot of financial advisors out there who get paid a lot of money who are not worth their weight in dog turd. I said it. I'm 50 now. I say what I think. I say what I think is true. But I don't know. Who knows what'll happen? Maybe nothing. Maybe if Trump gets elected again, maybe the world will end. Maybe democracy is over. I don't know for sure. But I've got a good gut instinct. Any of you out there have a good gut instinct? You do, don't you? You know when things just seem illogical or don't make sense? They just, you don't know why, but you just have this feeling like something's off. My gut instinct has literally maybe failed me one time, and not even a full fail. Like I was half right, half wrong. I trust my gut. I trust my experience. And that's that. COVID hit me at a rough time. I had just gotten out of a incredibly treacherous business operation in the cannabis industry. My partner ended up being a total and utter complete phony, fraud, lifelong friend. That's one time my gut actually did fail me, but I'd known him for too long and I didn't know the extent to just how screwed up he was. And I put a lot of time and effort into saving a company, not for him, but for the primary investor and the small investors who were talked into investing in that company before I got there, who had no business investing in that company. And I pretty much worked for nothing for 3 to 4 years. And yeah, I was pretty loyal. Not sure why I was loyal. I'm still a loyal person. I think loyalty and I think friendship and I think, if you're not worth your word, if you're not, I've always believed that if a man's word is not good, then you really have no business calling yourself a man. But, like in today's weird society, even calling somebody a man can be considered weird today. I don't know what's going on completely yet, but I'm onto it. And we're going to get more deep into this. Hopefully more people are going to join and we'll build a following and we'll build some camaraderie and get back to talking again. Because that is truly the epidemic. Nobody's talking. And I think I know. I think I know why. And we'll slowly kind of launch that theory. But first, I got to make sure all the technology works. And this technology, at least for the time being, seems to be working. But until I check all the locations later tonight in the feeds, I won't know. Go to www.ackermanalliance.com if you want to take part in anything that we're doing. I would love to see everybody. Obviously, I'm talking to the people around here that I grew up with that are local to me, but if my goal is to launch a project that will be a place that we can all congregate and have a great time. There'll be more to come on that as the days go on. This is just the beginning. You got to bear with me. I do not have I'm trying to find a remote producer who can help me run this show so I don't have to be the tech producer guy and do the show, provide the content, all that good stuff. But you got to start somewhere. COVID almost took me out. Like literally almost took me out. It's been a rough road back, but I'm finally back, and the next 20 years are going to be a lot more fun than the last 20 years. I can guarantee you that. So, all right. If anybody got this broadcast and you can confirm that everything looked good or sounded good or whatever, give me a buzz. Let me know. And we'll see you on the next one. Enjoy the rest of the week, everybody. Lester, we're here. You ready? Let's go get the kitty. Oh, I guess I got to hit the end.